Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today I have a simple design technique that I want to share with you. And I'm going to show you how to make 4 card layouts all at once. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have 4 different card ideas I want to share with you, but I created the layouts for these cards all at once. Now, the cards in this video feature the Sentimental Park bundle from Stampin Up. So this bundle consists of a stamp set and, of course, a coordinating die set. And I will also be using some of the new Regency Park Designer Series paper. So I'm going to use some different patterns to show this technique to you today. Now, keep in mind, you can use any pattern papers that you have on hand and any supplies with this particular technique. Okay, so before we get started, let me just tell you a little bit about these cards. So what you might notice is that they each have the exact same layout. So you can see the layout is exactly the same, but the pattern papers are a little different. So we have a little different pattern paper up here in the corner compared to here, here, and here. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create these 4 different cards using your pattern paper. It's a very simple cutting and design technique. So first I'm going to go over the supplies that you will need for this particular technique. So you need to choose 4 different patterned papers. So you want to make sure that your pattern papers coordinate with each other. So you can see I have 4 different patterns here, and they all coordinate with this larger floral type pattern. So I just have 6 by 6 inch sheets, but we're going to actually cut these down, so it really doesn't matter what size you start with. The next thing you will need are some card bases. So these are your standard card bases, and I just cut mine from Night of Navy cardstock. So the card bases are 5.5 by 8.5 and just scored in the middle at 4.25 inches. And that's how I created my card bases. So the next thing I did for these cards is just cut some white cardstock, and I'm going to use this to adhere all the pieces of my designer paper before I adhere them to the card base. So these are just 4 by 5.25 inches. And then the last thing I did to prep for these cards is just created my focal point. So you can use any shape that you want. This is one of the shapes from the Sentimental Park bundle. So I just cut out that shape and then just stamped my little greetings on here. And this is what I will be using as the focal point for these cards. Okay, so once you have all of your supplies prepped, then you are ready to cut your designer paper. So I'm actually going to be cutting all 4 of these sheets of designer paper at once. So you want to make sure you have all 4 pieces of paper together, and you're going to line it up at 3 3/4 inches, and then you're going to make the cut. So we'll set this aside. We aren't going to be using that right now. So then you will pick up your paper and place it back in at the 5-inch mark. So basically we're going to be cutting all of these pieces at 3 3/4 inches by 5. So now I have 4 pieces that are 3 3/4 inches by 5. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these pieces and I'm going to put them in so that that 3 3/4 inch side is up towards the top. So now I'm going to put all these in, and I'm going to cut a 2-inch strip. So I just have this lined up at 2 inches. And then I'm going to take this 2-inch strip that I just cut, and I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut it at 2 inches again. All right, so we'll just keep these pieces together. So now I'm going to take this other 1 3/4 by 5-inch piece, and all 4 of these pieces we're going to cut at the same time. And I'm just going to line this up at the 1.5 inch mark, and then we'll just make the cut. Okay, so here's what you have. You have a 3 3/4 by 5-inch piece, and we cut this piece into smaller pieces. So there's 4 pieces, so you can see all 4 pieces are under there, and they're all cut at the exact same size. Each one of these are the exact same size. So once you have these all cut, now what we're going to do is just shuffle them around, and we are going to create our layouts. So I'll show you what I mean. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up at the top here, the upper left, and we're just going to place these on the table. I'll try to keep them in view so you can see them. And then this is the next one. So basically what you want to do is you want to mix up the patterns. So I'm going to place this pattern with the yellow. We'll place this blue over here, and we'll place these. So they're all different. So you want 4 different patterns for each card. I hope that makes sense. And then this next one, we'll go down here, and we'll put this one over here, and this one over here. Oop, this one over here, and this one over here. I'm just going to mix these up, and then I'll show you what we will end up with. Okay, so I'm going to spread these out a little bit so that you can see what the patterns look like. Okay, so I basically just turned everything on its side, but this is what your patterns will look like. So notice how you have the exact same papers on each of these 4 different layouts, but the size of the paper is different. So when we cut all 4 pieces together, we have the exact same layout. We just have different patterns on each of the 4 layouts. So it's kind of a fun little design technique, and it's a great way to use up your designer paper. Now, I recommend making sure that you have a very sharp blade, like a brand new blade, in your paper trimmer. It'll just make it a lot easier to cut through 4 sheets of designer paper together. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these cards together. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take all these pieces and we're going to adhere them to a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white cardstock. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I like to lay out my design first so that I kind of know where everything fits. And then you can just start adhering the pieces. So I'm going to start up at the top here and just adhere these pieces right next to each other on this white cardstock. Okay, so that's it. You just adhere those pieces to the white cardstock. So now we'll just take all these other pieces and I will adhere them to a piece of white cardstock. Okay, so here's the layout. There's one, and here's the second one, and here's the third one, and the fourth one. So you can see that all the layouts are a little bit different, but they're the exact same papers. And it's the exact same layout. It's just that the different patterns are different sizes on each of these pieces of white cardstock. All right, so now we can take these pieces and we can adhere them to our card bases. All right, so there we go. So that's what they look like on their card bases. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is just add my little greetings right in the center, kind of where all of these little pieces intersect. Okay, so there we have our cards. Aren't they beautiful? And look how simple. Each design is a little bit different, but it's the exact same layout. All right, so these are the cards I just created. And then these are the cards that I kind of started the video with, but it's the exact same concept. I used the exact same measurements. I just used different pattern papers and different colors to create these cards compared to these. Okay, so there you go. Now you have a very simple design technique that you can really use with any supplies that you have on hand. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.